All right, we are live. Barstool Units, episode 61. I'm Coach Doug's. With me, as always, the Honorable Frank the Tank Fleming. Frank, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. You know, uh, the playoffs in the NBA and the NHL are going crazy. The Mets look like they're about ready to go into a tailspin. Uh, it's
Sports.
just,
Sports are happening.
yep. And USFL's going on.
Yeah.
The New Jersey Generals are actually good. They're 4-1.
Yeah, they're 4-1. They beat New Orleans this week.
It's nice when there's a New Jersey team that's actually a winner.
Yeah. Frank, you have a team that is a winning team right now that you can put your full support behind and know that they're going to do well, and you cheer for the Mets. Frank, what's the Mets record? Let's talk about this. What's the Mets record right now?
It's 23-13, and probably soon.
Well, let's talk about right now first before we get to pretty soon or way over yonder or when that time comes. We'll talk about that. But right now, they're 23-13.
Yep.
So they are doing pretty good.
Yeah, but they've been pretty mediocre lately.
23-13. So that's 10 games over 500?
Yep.
I mean, that sounds pretty good to me. I guess I might just not know about baseball, but I mean, 10 games over 500 at this point in the season sounds pretty good.
It's time to start getting better, though. They've been stuck in 10 games over 500 for 2 weeks.
I mean, is that not good though?
No, once you get 10 games over 500, then you got to go 15, 20, 30.
I mean, at that pace, where would you end the season?
The Mets are on pace right now to win about 23-13. I think that probably equates to 91-71.
Is that right?
Well, they're on.
That's only a difference of 20 games, and we're only like 1/8 through the season. I'm gonna pull some numbers. I'm gonna do some numbers here. I'm not really good at the math, but let me try it out. All right, there's 162 games, right?
Yes.
All right, so we're 23-13. She goes 36. I'm going to divide that into 162. So we've played 22% of the season.
Yep.
All right, so if we're 10 games ahead, every 22%, see here, that's 100 divided by 22. That's 4.5 times 10. So we should end up like 45 games over 500 by the end of the season if this pace stays on. And so what is that? 162 divided by 2. See here. I think what would 45 games above 500 be?
100.
So like 120?
I'll round it down to 44.
Okay. And so you're talking about like a 120 and 40. No. What are we talking about?
80. We're talking about 103 and 59.
103 and 59.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty good. I mean, winning 100 games. I mean, 100 games. I mean, again, I'm not a huge baseball guy, I guess, but I would say that's probably a milestone that most teams would love to hit, winning 100 games.
I'd take 95.
Well, 95 would. Oh, so I mean, is 95? Is that okay? Would you be okay with 95 wins?
Yes.
Okay. So we're on pace for what you've accepted would be okay.
But they just lost their first series. They got a tough series coming up against the
I'm
Cardinals.
glad you mentioned that, Frank. So they just lost their first series. How many series into the season are we?
I believe it's the 10th series.
Okay. I thought it was more like 8 or 9, but okay, so 10th series. So they won 9 series.
Well, no, they won 8 series and split one.
Oh, they split one. Okay, gotcha. So it took them 9 series, or it took them 10 series to lose one.
Yep. I'm greedy.
But that's not good enough for you?
Yeah, I just haven't liked how they played the last 15 games.
How many of those games have they won?
They're like maybe
it just, I'm just, want to play devil's advocate here.
Let me see. Right, last 15 games. So 13. Let's rewind it. So that's we're at the 36 game mark. So let's go back to the 21 game mark.
Okay.
All right.
And these are
no hitter night. The night they threw the no hitter, they were 15-6. These they're 8-7.
Okay. And these are the 15 games you don't like.
Right.
So they have a winning record. The 15 games you don't like. You don't like winning records.
I think that they could be better. I think.
Well, I mean, of course they could be better, Frank. I mean, they could have won all 15 games.
I think
that would be perfection.
I think 8-7. They should be 10-5. I mean, they should have. I mean, they were lucky to win Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
They got shut down twice by Paul Seawall.
Mm-hmm.
They were down 8-5, loaded the bases in the 9th inning yesterday. Had a chance to tie the game or win the game, and Pete Alonso swung at a pitch that was a foot outside.
Pete Alonso also hits dingers, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. So let's talk about your expectations, Frank, because it seems like the Mets are winning, they're having a good season, and you're still not happy.
In 2007, the Mets had a 7-game lead with 17 games left, and lost.
Okay, so because 2007 happened, no season, no matter how good the Mets are playing, the Mets could be undefeated right now, and you would still say they're going to lose it all. They're not going to make it.
I just have so much PTSD from that collapse.
And so, again, just playing devil's advocate here, because some people may think that sounds a little ridiculous. Is it so much PTSD that maybe we should take a step back? Maybe we shouldn't put ourselves in that situation. Maybe we should watch USFL instead of the Mets. Because they're winning. No, maybe we should watch the USFL because it's not going to be NFL quality football, but it's going to be football. There's going to be some points scored, some doinked field goals.
Drop passes,
snaps. I think if I read it correctly, I want to say 15. Let's see. There's 15 of the 20 games that have been played have been decided by less than one score, and 4 of the 20 have had a lead change within the last minute of the game. I was kind of upset because I've been going 50-50 in betting USFL games, and I was tormenting myself. I was going against myself, going, what are you not seeing here? What's wrong with you? Why are you picking these losers? And then I realized 15, 20 games have all been divided or decided by one score. That is a toss-up. That means 75% of the games are a literal coin flip. One play here or there, and it's a completely different ballgame.
Well, one thing I think we've learned is never bet on the gamblers.
Yep. And I learned that. I'm so happy about that. They got me twice, but I learned my lesson. Strike one, shame on you. Strike two, I'm out. You're not going to get me again. And so I bet on the defeated, the winless Pittsburgh Maulers. Now I bet the spread. I didn't bet money line. I'm not crazy, but Pittsburgh covered and won. It took the last play of the game to do it, but Pittsburgh finally got their first win. But yeah, that's the
You
USFL.
gotta know when to punt, know when to run the ball, know when to throw a pass, know when to quit because you can't win. If you play the bet Houston gamblers, you're gonna lose your vision. It's not gonna be too good.
There you go. You said it, Frank. You said it. So with that in mind, I've given myself permission to not feel mad at myself. 50% of my US, you're excited to watch sports, and you don't really care who wins or loses that much. And so there's not a lot of emotion that you have to put into it. So going back to what we're talking about, I'm just throwing it out there as a suggestion. Maybe let's watch only half the Mets games. Maybe I'm not saying quit on the Mets. I'm not saying don't put yourself through all the stress. What if we only watched half the games, Frank? Do you think that would help? Do you think that would help your emotion?
I don't know. I watch Mets baseball with the attention, with the stress and attention most people reserve for the NFL.
Yeah, but see, the NFL is only 17 games. If you're watching it like you're watching an NFL game, there's 162 games in baseball, Frank.
Well, maybe we need to get on the road and step aside. That might be a way to step away from.
I'm saying it's a good possibility. I'm just throwing it out there as a suggestion. Maybe we'll take a break from the Mets. We'll take a break from Major League Baseball, and calm our minds and get away from the 2007 PTSD that you still have, and we'll go from there.
But yeah. I just never. It's
never
literally
recovered.
Gonna take.
You never recovered.
It's literally going to take a World Series, a World Championship to recover from that.
Now, again, just playing devil's advocate here, it's going to take a World Series, meaning you would have to get to the World Series first. So if that's your goal, every year, no, of course, but you have to first get to the World. In order to win the World Series, you have to get to the World Series. So every year you don't get to the World Series, you're saying that is just compounding on your PTSD every single year?
Well, the Mets made the World Series in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first time I actually felt good about the Mets in 8 years. Then they fought through a lot of injury and adversity to make the wild card game in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And I still kind of felt good, even though they got smoked in the wild card game.
Yeah.
2017, of course, that's when I had my rant. I thought it was going to be a good season. And by the end of April, the Mets had 16 players on the disabled list. And it was called disabled list back then. Injured list now.
Injured list, yeah.
And it just
snowballed.
It only snowballed from there.
Yeah. So, well, let's. I think we're on the right track. I think we're making progress. And we're going to hit the road real soon to head down to Birmingham and do some other stuff along the way. So that'll be a good time to be on the road, away from New York City, away from Queens, away from Citi Field, and maybe
away from North Penn Station and its potpourri of potpourri of poo-poo.
Yeah, it's bad. But we'll we'll distance ourselves physically and hopefully emotionally from the Mets for a while coming up soon. And yeah, and who knows, maybe we can distance ourselves from the Brooklyn Nets too. Maybe that would help your mental health.
Yeah. I just don't know what to think about the Brooklyn Nets anymore.
You have a lot on your plate with the Mets, Frank. You have a lot on your plate with the Mets. You're not really too excited about the Dolphins this upcoming season, even though Tua has some great weapons with him now, and you're still not too excited about that. So maybe, again, just throwing out there, maybe we forget about the Nets this upcoming season.
I mean, with the Dolphins, I just don't know about Tua.
Yeah.
I just don't know. I like Brian Flores.
Well, Brian Flores is gone. Frank. He's gone.
I felt they were on the right track.
Mm-hmm.
And they've made some good additions this offseason. I don't know if you heard the latest.
Tom Brady?
Melvin Ingram.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean, Frank, I would be maybe not excited, but hopeful.
If the Dolphins don't make the playoffs this year, then we know that Tua is trash. It now really is. It really now is on Tua's plate.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing the USFL has done is shown us how big of a drop off it goes from the NFL quality. These guys that are out there, there's only 32 teams. There's only 32 starting quarterbacks. I mean, we see the drop off when a starting quarterback gets hurt, and the rarely does the backup come in and make a name for himself. It happens occasionally.
Well, the Dolphins actually have a well-known backup now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know this. They got Teddy Bridgewater.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yep.
Well, at one point, Tua was their backup. They had Ryan Fitzpatrick, and they benched him, even though he was playing really well.
Ryan Fitzpatrick had a funky career.
He was playing well, and the Dolphins had a winning record, and they benched him.
Well, that was about trying to. That's when the power struggle actually began.
Yeah.
Supposedly, Flores didn't want to bench him.
What are you going to do? So, you got the Dolphins, which for some reason you're not too hopeful on, even though
football season's still a long way off.
Yeah, it is, and that's fair. So, you got that. You got the Mets. The Generals, I think, probably the only team that you have going right now that's actually doing pretty well that you're not upset about.
Yeah, but as you said, minor league football.
Yeah,
you don't really care one way or another.
Yeah, well, but here's the deal: you don't really care one way or another, and you're emotionally secure. You don't have to worry about all these things. You don't have to be outraged about certain things. You don't have to blame a loss on the United States Postal Service.
Yeah, well, look what they did to my fucking car. They massacred. Look at this. They massacred.
Look what they did to you. Look what
they massacred. They massacred.
Frank, that's just a bag of glass. You remember the old SNL skit with Dan Aykroyd?
Yeah,
bag of glass.
The Burger King the Star Wars glasses.
Frank, you're showing us a bag of glass.
Well, this was a Lando Calrissian glass.
Frank, it looks like a bunch of Ziploc bags put together.
Yeah, well, this is how the U.S. Postal Service handles your packages.
Yeah, well, so here's the question, Frank. Do you think that's how the Postal Service handles packages, or do you think that's how they handle your packages?
No, I pretty much think that the Postal Service in this town sucks. Maybe the whole state sucks.
It's possible. I have heard Postal Service workers, postal carriers, very upset in our lobby.
And remember, if you don't have mail, you're not getting mail.
Yeah. It's a profound statement, really. I had no comeback for him when we went. For those that don't know, we went to get our mail because they weren't delivering it to our complex here. And when I asked for my mail, the supervisor at the postal office said, "If you're not getting any mail, you just don't have any mail." And yeah, that's accurate, because think about it, Frank. If they don't give you your mail, you don't have your mail. That makes sense. Like I can't argue that. I can't argue it.
I remember when my grandmother would she would actually stand at the window
Mm-hmm.
waiting for the postman every day,
Really?
and he usually came to her neighborhood around between 9 and 11, and she'd rush down the mailbox right away and get the mail. And if she was
Really?
gonna go if she was gonna go anywhere, she'd actually wait till the mail arrived because she didn't want to leave without the mail coming, or though sometimes she'd wake up at like. Well, my grandmother was weird. She like slept 3 hours a night. She'd wake up like at 4 o'clock in the morning. If she was gonna make something, she'd start cooking at 4 o'clock in the morning. If she was gonna make like chicken soup, she'd hand out to the chicken market at 8 o'clock in the morning. If she was gonna go do her grocery shopping, she'd take her little cart and actually go to Pathmark, which is on our grounds.
Yeah.
They're now the Super Fresh.
Yeah.
And she'd walk over there with her cart. And then when she was done, she'd walk back with the cart. Just imagine this little Italian lady about
4'8".
yeah, about that age. I mean, she was tiny. She was tiny.
Yeah. And so, did she really like mail, or did she like? Did y'all have the same postal carrier? Was it the same mailman that came every day?
Back then, I guess it might have been. It was that was talking 1980s.
Yeah. Did she get dressed up to go get the mail? Did she put on makeup to go get the mail?
No.
Okay. All right, just checking. Because my grandmother was, I don't want to say weird, but my grandmother, if we were going to Burger King, even if we were just going through the drive-through, she would have to put her makeup on.
Oh well.
She never left the house. She never left the house without her makeup on.
Yeah. No, but most days, if she wasn't going anywhere, she'd have like basically a house coat on.
Gotcha. The my grandmother, I'll tell you a funny story. She had dementia at the end of her life, but my sister, we would do house calls and stuff, check up on her and everything. My sister went over there because we hadn't heard from her in a day or so, just to go check on her. My sister went over, and they found my grandmother unconscious on the couch. So they call paramedics. She goes to the hospital and everything. She wakes up a few hours later, and the doctor's like, "There's nothing wrong with her. We don't know what was wrong with her." So we take her back to her house, and as we're leaving, we notice in the recycling bin she has about 3 or 4 bottles of white Zinfandel. My grandmother, at age like 80 something, possibly 90 something, I think she might have hit 90 at the end. My grandmother basically got drunk off of white Zinfandel wine and passed out watching like The Price is Right or something during the day. And so that was, okay. Going back to the Postal Service, the Mets. You think this Postal Service issue is somehow connected to the Mets losing to the Mariners?
I think when something bad happens,
Mm-hmm.
it's the snowball. It's like the domino.
Yeah, but it's something. I mean, just work with me on this. Something bad happens to somebody every day, every minute. So to say something, if that was the case, I mean, are you thinking about the guy who sits in left field at Citi Field? Like, do you think his car broke down and he goes, "Oh, my car broke down, so the Mets are going to lose today"?
Oh, well, if my car broke down, I'd certainly think that.
Okay. And so here's a follow-up question. Are you concerned about the guy in left field that if his car breaks down, the Mets are going to lose?
I might have to be.
And so that's silly, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. It's sports.
No. It's called superstition.
Okay, so you're superstitious.
Yeah.
Okay. And sometimes you will agree that sometimes, occasionally, not all the time, not every time, sometimes you may go off on a rant here or there, saying things that are outlandish, completely untrue, improbable, impossible, but in the moment you really believe them.
Yes.
Okay. That's fair.
Now, Paul Seawall really was 1-14 with a 5.50 ERA.
Frank, the Mets gave up on him.
No, giving up on somebody is giving up on somebody after going 0-6 in his first season. Giving up on somebody is giving up on giving up on him in the middle of his second year when he went 0-7.
Okay. Frank,
they got rid of him.
What was Paul Sewald's final decision? The final decision. Did he get a win or a loss?
In 2019, he was 1-1, and late in the season, he had a win after 14 straight losses.
So he was starting to turn it around.
Do you know how many pitchers have gone 0-14 to start their careers?
I don't know, 5?
Basically, yes.
Frank, he was starting to turn it around. He was on a win streak, Frank.
But they brought him back the following season.
Did he have any decisions that season?
No, he went he had 4 appearances in the COVID season and an ERA of 13.
COVID season, Frank. COVID season doesn't count. COVID season doesn't count.
Well, the Mets decided finally after the COVID season, which he spent most of the season at the alternate site because he wasn't on the roster.
Mm-hmm. So he ended on a win, and the Mets got rid of him.
1-14 is not a win.
He ended on a win, Frank. He was starting to turn it around. We'll never know if he would have. We'll never know it. We'll never know if that one win was the start of something special.
They made him look like fucking Mariano Rivera this goddamn weekend.
Yeah. Well, and so you think it was the Postal Service. I think it was something much more closer to the Mets organization. What was it? Was it Friday?
Friday, yep.
Friday. It was Japanese Heritage Day at Citi Field. So it was a Citi Field event. It was a Mets organized event. The Mets organized it. It was Japanese Heritage Day.
I'm going to play Milli Vanilli here.
Okay.
I'm going to blame it on the rain.
You're going to blame Max Scherzer's decision to disrespect and insult.
But that's Max Scherzer. That's what that's what makes Max Scherzer. He gets like locked in, and he doesn't even want his teammates talking to him.
He's not a teammate. He's the Japanese ambassador to the United Nations.
Yeah, well, he doesn't want his own teammates talking to him.
He's not a teammate. He's the Japanese ambassador, Frank.
Yeah, you did. If he doesn't want his
Japanese Heritage Night. On
think
Japanese Heritage Night that the Mets organized. The Mets organized all this, Frank. It's not like some Max Scherzer ran into some guy outside Citi Field who shouldn't have been there.
Well, they should have had him go out to the
Japanese Heritage Night.
The Mets should have sent him out to the mound 10 minutes earlier.
Okay, so you're agreeing it's the Mets' fault.
Yeah.
Okay. So something the Mets did, not the Postal Service. The Mets insulted the Japanese ambassador on Japanese Heritage Night. And you don't think that has anything to do with the Mets losing to the Mariners?
I mean, it's just and next 2 days, tomorrow's doubleheader doesn't look good.
Well, has Max Scherzer apologized?
I don't know.
Frank, Max Scherzer insulted the Japanese ambassador to the United Nations. He is the ambassador of Japan. Max Scherzer disrespected him and the nation of Japan, and I would probably say the Japanese American community as a whole, on Japanese Heritage Night.
Well, when he gets the ball and he wants to start warming up, Max Scherzer doesn't want anyone interfering with his last few warm-ups.
Oh, so he was just warming up. It wasn't even during play or anything.
No.
Yeah. But you don't think that has anything to do with the Mets losing?
Well, they're going to get killed by the Cardinals tomorrow, so probably did.
Well, has Max Scherzer apologized to the Japanese community?
But I think they brought the guy back on Saturday.
The Mets did bring him back on Saturday.
So
did Max Scherzer apologize to him?
We don't know.
We don't know. I would assume that if he had, the Mets would have made a big deal about it. The Mets would have made it public knowledge that Max Scherzer even though that Max Scherzer deliberately insulted the ambassador of Japan and disrespected the nation of Japan and the Japanese American community, Max Scherzer has apologized. That is what the Mets would say if it had happened. But it hasn't happened. Max Scherzer.
No, the Mets actually jumped on the grenade.
Mm-hmm.
They said that they basically said that there was a delay in getting him out to the mound,
mm-hmm.
and they apologized.
The Mets did, but not Max Scherzer.
Yep.
And so the Mets can apologize all they want until Max Scherzer apologizes to the nation of Japan. I don't see how you can expect them to win 80 games this season.
And there we go. Meanwhile, the Yankees win every fucking night.
Well, you know what the Yankees didn't do, Frank? They didn't invite the ambassador of Japan out to Yankee Stadium and then insult the entire Japanese community. That's what the Yankees didn't do, Frank.
If the Yankees
win the World Series, you can put it down right there. That's why.
The Yankees are about to win, and they're like,
hold on. Hold on. The Yankees haven't won yet?
No, they're going to win tonight.
Frank. That was a Frank fact. That was a Frank fact where.
Well, Doug's, they're up 4-1, and they're 4 outs from winning.
But we're talking about present tense. So you have to say the Yankees are winning, not the Yankees won.
It's the Orioles. They won.
And this is why some people, not me, of course, not me, some people have certain issues with the little rants that you put on. Now, we know, you and I personally know, it's not for attention, as some have said, that you truly believe these things in your head and in your heart, of course. But we had an incident at Citi Field. We were hanging out in the lounge. It was a rain delay. An individual came up to us. I was sitting there eating my pastrami sandwich, which is kind of expensive, but good. It's worth it. The guy came up, said a few expletives to you pretty loudly, obviously, in order to make sure that everyone around us heard him. It wasn't until he walked away, I thought he was a friend. I thought you knew him. You know, when you have a friend, you know, sometimes you say expletives to him, you flick them off, you say, hey, that's like a way you might introduce yourself to a friend. I had no idea. It didn't even run through my head that this random guy who you don't know would walk up to us in the lounge and yell that at you and then just walk away.
He's a loser. What can I say?
He is a loser. He's a loser. I said my piece after the game. I didn't want to go searching him out like in the 7-line Army section. By the time I realized what happened, and you kind of just shrugged it off and said, guess he's not a fan. He had already walked out of the lounge. I tried to walk after him, but he had turned a corner. I don't know where he went. But the video I put out there, it's got enough views. It's got enough retweets, especially even from the guy, I guess, that started the 7-line Army. Seemed like a nice enough guy. So it's out there. I think it's pretty clear that whoever that guy is has seen my video. If whether through my account or someone shared it with them, I haven't heard anything yet. I challenge.
We don't know. We don't know if he saw it. He might be a guy who just follows Deadspin.
Well, yeah, I haven't got a response yet, but hopefully he sees it. Hopefully he responds. If he really feels that strongly enough to do that in a public setting like that, we can make him some money off of it, and he can see how devoted he is to that lifestyle. But yeah, Deadspin. Speaking of ridiculous, crazy, outlandish, ignorant, stupid, just awful takes. A Deadspin article came out today saying that it was such a ridiculous thing. Basically, white Americans watched black Americans play basketball the day after black Americans. This is basically white people watched black people play basketball after black people were shot by a white person, and that is white supremacy.
I saw the post, and only one thing comes to mind.
What?
That is the most dumb, stupidest thing that I have ever heard. There's
a reason.
At no point did they have a coherent idea what they're talking about.
No.
At no point did they have a reasonable explanation to what they're saying.
No.
I give them no points. Everyone who reads it is now dumber for having read it.
Yeah,
God have mercy on that writer's soul.
I would say, and anyone who reads it. It's an awful take. And there's no solution given. He just says, this is what it is because that's what it is. Is the solution for us not to watch basketball? Is the solution to only have the white players play? Because I don't think anybody wants to watch that personally. I don't think anybody would tune into that. I don't think that is what they care about.
A white basketball league would probably be funnier than the USFL.
Yeah. Listen, from a content standpoint, I would absolutely blog about it, and I would find it hilarious in like a sad, pathetic kind of way. But yeah, the Deadspin article gives no solution to the problem. Just says this is white supremacy, and that's it. But there's a reason it was on Deadspin, because
By
that's
the
a
way,
different article.
yeah, well, Deadspin is DOA.
Yeah.
I mean, it truly is trash. By the way, Yankee update,
Mm-hmm.
they increased the lead to 5-1.
But they have not won that, right? They have not won yet. We need to stay in the proper tense, in the proper form. They are
Well,
winning the game. They have
they are
not won.
beating they are beating one of the worst teams in baseball,
Oh, they're beating the Mets?
the Orioles.
Yes, I know, Frank. I know. I'm just, yeah.
Although they must be pleased. In Yankee update, it is now 6-1.
So the Yankees are still winning. They have not won.
They just hit back-to-back homers.
That happens. It happens. I mean,
That's Oriole baseball, Oriole magic.
Frank, unless the team goes up, I don't know, by say 7 runs, then I wouldn't count them out. Obviously, at 7 runs, I mean, no team is going to score 7 runs in the 9th inning to make to come back. So until they score 7 runs, I wouldn't count them out just yet. See, that's a callback, Frank. It's a callback to a Met game that happened earlier this season.
Yep. Before
Before Max Scherzer disrespected the Japanese ambassador. Yep. Now,
while baseball is just basically in the early stages, we're now NBA is now in the conference finals, and I think there's now one thing for sure. Chris Paul, you are the ultimate choke artist.
it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate.
Fact,
he's a Hall of Fame. He's a Hall of Fame player.
Yeah, well, everyone gets in the Hall of Fame in the NBA.
A lot of them do, yeah.
In fact, they're not going to call it choking anymore. They're going to be calling it doing the Chris Paul. He is 0-7 in Game 7.
That's
upsetting
to hear.
He has lost. His team has lost series 5 times after he's gotten the 2-0 lead. And if he would have lost a close game yesterday, a hard-fought game, back-and-forth game where maybe the Mavericks hit a lucky shot at the end, you go, oh, I feel sorry for you. The Mavericks were down. The Suns were down at halftime yesterday, 57-27.
Mm-hmm.
Luka Doncic had 27 points at the half. The Phoenix Suns had 27 points at the half.
Yeah.
That is as pathetic of performance I have ever seen in a Game 7, and the Suns were home. They were the best team in the NBA this year. The only team to win more than 60 games, and they're going home. They just choked, just collapsed. Sunset Blues. I wonder if Chris Paul is going to be admiring the sunset in Cancun. Yes, he certainly was admiring the sunset in Phoenix.
Yeah, it's sad. It's sad to see.
But
hey, other teams pulled it out in Game 7s.
Yeah, well, the NBA conference finals are set. It's the Warriors and the Mavericks. Mm-hmm. I like the Warriors.
Yeah,
I think the Mavericks aren't ready yet. I think maybe next year the Mavericks will be getting there, but just the fact that they made it this far shows they're going to be a team that's going to be reckoned with for the next 5-10 years. And the Celtics are playing the Miami Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals. And I just like the Celtics. I think that's going to be a good series. I think the Celtics, though, will win with their defense.
Now, we talked about it earlier today. What do you think about the Nets next season?
I don't even know what to think about the Nets anymore. They're obviously bringing back Steve Nash.
Well, see, earlier you said, and I'm gonna call you out on it because we have to keep our Frank facts separate from our facts. Earlier, you said that Steve Nash had been signed a contract for an extension for 3 years. And you said, and that's not a Frank fact. Then when I asked you about it,
it's expected he's going to get a 3-year extension.
but that's not a fact though. That's a rumor. Rumors and facts are two different things. That's a Frank rumor, Frank.
All it tells me is that the Nets were comfortable with how they performed this year. They're comfortable with the fact that Steve Nash doesn't know how to mix the role players. They're comfortable that Steve Nash is not a good coach. They're comfortable that he doesn't know that he's in over his head because he's friends with Durant and Irving, and won't demand of them that they play up to their best. So the Nets could just coast and have another season like this year, and probably next year lose 50 games. I think the Nets. If I wasn't a Nets fan, I'd absolutely fucking hate this team.
And so I feel like we're rehashing a lot of stuff here. You've said previously that if Steve Nash was not let go, if he was brought back for another season, that would be the indicator to you that the Nets do not want to win.
They don't want to win.
My question to you, are you going to support a team that you know does not want to win?
I guess I don't know. I'm a Nets fan, but
even if if you know they're not committed to winning,
I just don't know.
They're not committed to winning.
This actually might be just not even caring about the NBA
in whole. So it's not even a matter of I don't care about my team, my former team, or whatever you want to call it. You're just not going to watch basketball next season.
I mean, if the Devils were good, I wouldn't even give a fuck about the NBA.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, the Devils aren't good, Frank.
Yeah, they aren't.
They aren't. You know who is good? Speaking of Game 7 victories, the New York Rangers. It was
that was scumbag hockey yesterday. They took that guy's helmet off, knowing the rule.
No.
Did you see a biz said?
Yes. No, I can agree with that. It's a stupid rule.
It is a stupid rule.
It's a stupid rule for sure. The rule does state though that the player can put the helmet back on.
Yeah, but most players.
Well, the player chose to go to his bench. He could have put the helmet back on.
Yeah, he could have.
He could have.
He should have.
He should have. He could have, and he should have, but he didn't. He went to the bench, and the Rangers won.
You want to hear something funny? You know what?
I would love to hear something funny.
Do you know who was shown on the Jumbotron, like a couple of moments before that happened?
No, who?
The Mets. They were in a suite yesterday at MSG.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Must be nice. Must be nice to have a suite at Madison Square Garden watching your hockey team win Game 7 of a series. I mean, come on, Frank. Man.
Well, they're going to get rocked by the Hurricane.
Cool. That would be cool to do that.
Here I am, rock you like a hurricane. Here I am. You want to know.
So you're going to be cheering for Carolina this week, huh?
Nothing can be finer.
And
what team I actually feel some pity for?
Who?
The Maple Leafs. The weather is actually starting to really get warmer now. I think we're now officially getting into short season. The calendar says spring. We're about 5 weeks away from summer. But in Toronto, it's autumn. Here's the Leafs after all.
Frank, it's sad, but that joke works every year. Every year.
No, they have lost games. To talk about losing Game 7, they have lost a decisive game every year since 2017,
Yeah, like a win or go home game.
and they have blown three. They've blown 3-1 leads twice. They've blown 3-2 leads. They lost in the preliminary round in 5 games in the bubble, in which they had a 2-1 lead.
Yeah,
I mean, they had a 3-2 lead in this series, and they had a lead in Game 6, and then they got called for the delay game penalty while on a power play,
yeah,
and Tampa took advantage, scored 5-on-3, tied the game, won the game in overtime, and then Game 7 was a 1 victory. And the Toronto Maple Leafs have one of the best players in the NHL, Austin Matthews,
hmm
and he can't get past the first round.
What are you gonna do? Well,
The
Frank,
Toronto Maple Leafs have not won a playoff series since 2004. With the Panthers winning this year, that is now the longest drought in the NHL.
yeah,
The Panthers, the Maple Leafs have not been to the Stanley Cup Finals since 1967, pre-expansion.
yeah, before you were born, Frank.
So the last,
Frank, you have
last
never
time,
seen you have never seen the Leafs in the finals.
nope. The last time the Toronto Maple Leafs played in the Stanley Cup Finals, there were 6 teams in the NHL.
6.
6.
Wow. Well, I tell you what, Frank. Maybe we'll go up there to Toronto, check it out now that Canada is somewhat open again, and who knows? Maybe we'll hit up the Hall of Fame while we're up there, and have ourselves some fun in Canada, eh?
Yep. I had to do some raw dogging, eh?
Oh yeah. I don't know if I, I was about to say I'm not sure if they have hot dogs up there. I'm not sure if they call them hot dogs. I imagine they do, but maybe in some of the French areas they don't. I don't know. We'll see. But we're hitting the road soon. We're headed down to Birmingham for some USFL. I'm actually really excited about that.
And if you give us a banjo, I'll make sure I have a banjo on my knee.
I'm hopeful that one person will get the reference and comment. If you get the reference, comment down below. That's Barstool Units, episode 61. Frank, please take us out.
Well, I come from Alabama with a banjo on my knee. I'm bound for Louisiana, my own true love I see. It rained all night the day I left, the weather was bone dry. The sun was so hot I froze myself. Susanna, don't you cry. Oh, Susanna, don't you cry for me. I am going to Alabama with a banjo on my knee. Click like, subscribe, and see you next week.
Units out.